Okay.
Yeah, here we are. Yeah, we figured it out. Huh?
You know, congratulations to whoever unplugged my microphone. Jesus.
It's the little things that make life on the job more
Like
enjoyable.
plugging things in, baby.
Like
As you can tell, we're a very high-tech organization we have
High-tech.
here. Welcome to our fourth and final
all professional.
character creation here for our D&D sessions that we'll be doing. And our final character that we're creating is going to be a human wizard, and this is going to be the character that I will be playing
Yes.
when we go play the games. Actually, let me fix this camera.
This character has been a while in the making. It has been in the back of Brandon's mind for some time.
Very long time. Yeah,
Since we did the first time, he's like wanted to make his own character. So this one is going to be yours.
Yeah, it's kind of so. This is the character that sparked this whole idea to do these films or to do these like episodes because Justin's walking me through everything. By the way, Justin, Dungeon Master here, extraordinaire. Hello. And Justin's sending me like, just do this, and I'm looking at him like, holy crap, like this is, it can be overwhelming because there's so much information. And I'm also, since I'm new to it, I'm putting myself in the brain of, okay, well, if anybody else wants to do this, this can be very overwhelming. So let's kind of do rudimentary, build a character.
Yep.
Like build a bear almost, except we're building some characters here for D&D. And so that's what we're doing now. And we're on our fourth and final character. We've already had our, let me see here. First character that we created, Bonar Growrod. That would be
barbarian,
our half-orc barbarian. We have our cleric gnome, or gnome cleric. It's usually race then class.
Yeah, usually.
So we have our gnome cleric. That would be Hespina Patches Papillomavus. And then we also have our elf rogue, Zaisu Dorobo. So those are the three we've created. The next one, final one we're doing is a human wizard named Bas Gobar, which I was telling Justin when I went to create a character on Elder Scrolls. You could do like an auto-generate name, and it bored me. So I'm of like Scottish Norwegian descent. I'm like, God, it'd be kind of cool if I got something like a Viking or something like that. So I started looking up all these things, and something that popped up is in Scottish Gaelic, Bas Gobar means death goat. So that's where this name came about for this character. So let's jump right into it here.
Death goat.
And let's get right to step number one of creating our human wizard.
All right. So we have already done the hard part. We've decided on our race and class combination. We want to be a human. Human gets us some cool bonuses, and we want to be a wizard. So that gets us some really cool things. A wizard is someone who studies arcane magic, and they learn the powers of the people who've come before, and they unlock dark secrets. And
kind of like a Doctor Strange almost.
Exactly. Doctor Strange is a wizard.
Good, because I love the Doctor Strange comics.
Yeah, that is exactly what Doctor Strange is. Wizards, without wizards, D&D wouldn't be as cool as it is. You know,
they get a lot of cool stuff.
Magic. Yeah, exactly. So intelligence is the most appropriate score of our 6 attributes.
Mm-hmm.
So intelligence is going to be the score you want to put your highest number in when we determine our scores, and then probably dexterity, because wizards aren't trained in wearing armor, so you're not going to have a wizard wearing a bunch of armor unless you learn other things in order to get armor.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Later on. So dexterity and intelligence are probably the best scores you need.
Okay.
Strength being the least important, because you don't need to be
I don't get to be strong?
You don't need to be strong because you have magic to overcome that.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
I don't need to pick up that can of Coke. I can summon it over here.
Exactly.
With my Jedi powers.
With your mage hand cantrip.
All right, so
we're going to do we're
doing our rolls?
Dice. So what we're doing is we're taking 4 6-sided dice. We're dropping the lowest number, which in this case is the 1. And then we're adding the rest together, so that'll give us a 10. Just write those off to the side, and then we will place them.
There's a good roll.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a 15. And so there are different methods, of course, to generate.
That's a crappy roll.
That's a 12. That's above average.
Better than that 10.
10 is average. There we go. 14. That's good.
Hey, see?
This is looking pretty good so far.
Watch, I'm going to get like what's the lowest you get? A 3?
The lowest you can get is a 3.
I get a 3 in strength.
You can re-roll that one. It fell off the table.
That was 1 anyway.
Not
too bad.
That's
14.
Not too bad. Another 14. So yeah, he's looking pretty.
Bas Gobar bringing some heat.
Beastly. Unlike our gnomish cleric, who was looking a little soft. 12. So yeah, nothing below a 10. That's a good array
That's what I'm
of
talking
scores.
about. Okay, so our highest number being 15, and you said intelligence.
Intelligence.
Is where we
That
need to be
should
putting
totally
15.
be it. Yeah.
Okay, and then,
dexterity should be the next
should
one.
be
One
one
of
of
the
our
14s. Yeah. And then you have like this sort of, all right, so your 10 should probably be your strength because that's the least important.
Okay.
So that leaves you with a 14 and 2 12. So everything is going to get a bonus. So basically you're deciding on, do I want a couple more hit points and put my other 14 there? Do I want some better perception and like wisdomy stuff, or do I want to have a better charisma? All of those can be important for a wizard, but ultimately,
It seems wisdom seems to be most important.
Yeah,
at least with what I'm envisioning.
Yeah,
here.
for sure. So put the other 14 in wisdom and then 12 12.
12 in constitution, 12 in charisma.
All right. So now the next thing is, since we picked a human, there are 2 different routes you can go. You have your standard human, and what that does is that gives you a bonus of 1 to every attribute, which seems really cool, right? So everything just goes up by 1.
And what's the other lane we can take?
The other lane is what they refer to as a variant human. It's the variant rule for a human.
Okay.
So that gives you 2 scores that you're going to bump up by 1, and a feat, which is something we haven't touched on yet, which are really cool. They're little extra options to make your character sort of unique. And then you get an extra skill.
Okay.
So you know how we determine skills based on your class and your background?
Yeah.
So you're going to get an extra skill, you're going to get a feat, and 2 of your scores are going to go by 1. Variant is pretty cool. But the standard way is also pretty cool because everything just goes up by 1.
I say we just stick with the standard then.
Okay, so everything's going to jump up by 1.
So just go ahead and
so everything just increases by 1.
Okay. So then when we're done increasing everything here by 1, what's our next step?
The next step is we're going to go find our hit points, our skills, and then from our wizard class, and then we're going to pick our background for our other skills.
Yeah, this is the one character I haven't really come up with a big backstory.
Which is funny because like it's the character you've agonized.
Yeah, I know. And I think that's probably why. It's way easier when I'm just thinking of something that I'm not going to have to play with it, where I can come up with this goofy backstory where I'm like, oh, it's my character. I got to take my time. And I completely didn't even,
So your speed is 30 feet because you're a human. So speed is right there.
Okay, what was 30?
30. Languages, you get common automatically.
Yeah.
So it's like just the generic tongue. And then 1 extra language would be like orc, elf, dwarf, whatever you want.
Well, we've got, what are some of the other languages we've already got? We've gotten orc and elvish out of Bonar.
Yes.
We would have, whatever Hespina can speak.
Gnomish and common.
And then whatever Zaisu, who's an
elvish
elf.
And
is there a language
common
that we're missing that we could use in this?
Yeah, you can take like Infernal, which is the language of the devils. You can take Celestial, which is the language of like angelic beings. You could take Draconic, which is the language of dragons. You could take Aquin, which is the language of sea creatures. Probably wouldn't work in this set.
What was the first? There's Celestial, and what was the first one?
Infernal.
Yeah. I'm thinking a death goat might be able to speak that language.
Yeah. Infernal sounds good. All right, so as a wizard...
And I kind of was playing around with an idea here. Now, is it possible for a wizard to be born with magical traits?
Such as, what do you...
Well, because what I was thinking of is for a backstory here is that when Bosco Bar was a baby, something happened that sparked something inside him, and he erupted, and it actually killing both of his parents. In some sort of like some magical spell that as a baby something happened.
So yeah, this could totally work out. So like, there's this strange magical calamity in his past, in wiping out his family, and that leads him to his path of wizardry to try and figure out exactly what happened.
Exactly.
Whereas he might not know what happened, and then later we can just explain it narratively because it's magic.
Yeah, that's the fun of magic. There you go. There's your backstory. That's something I've been kind of toying with a little bit here for
really not bad
Mr.
at all.
Bosco Bar.
Okay, so you get your maximum hit points. Of course, hit points is how much damage you can take. Like all the video games, hit point mechanics originated in D&D. So you're going to get 6 plus your constitution. Oh, well, let's give you your modifiers. I'm sorry. So strength gets you a 0.
Okay.
Because it's 11.
Dexterity.
15 will get you plus 2. Okay. And then plus 1. And then plus 3.
Plus 3 for intelligence.
Plus 2.
+2 for wisdom.
+1.
And +1 for charisma. That's
So
pretty loaded character.
Yeah,
there.
he's a pretty loaded character. So you're going to have 7 total hit points to start with because you're getting your 6
So we're putting
plus
hit points
1.
on this one.
So the total will be on that
hit
top
points.
line.
So 7.
7 to start out.
Weak. Weak.
He wants Bonar to take the hit.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah. Like a fart in the wind will knock this guy over.
So your saving throws are intelligence and wisdom.
Okay.
So you get to add your proficiency bonus. So proficiency is stuff you know how to do.
Mhm.
You get a proficiency bonus.
Okay.
Stuff you don't know how to do, you're just trying blindly with your natural
And
skills.
what are we rocking here?
So your proficiency bonus on a first level character is always 2.
That's right.
So for your intelligence save would be +5, and your wisdom save would be +4.
4. Got it.
All right. So skills, you can choose from 2. You can get Arcana, which is the study of magic, which is a good one.
I would say that'd probably be a necessity.
History, the study of history. Insight, knowing whether people are lying to you.
Mhm.
Investigation, like examining things and knowing how they work and stuff. Like medicine, which is like first aid medicine.
Yeah, we got Hespina for that.
And then religion, which is the study of deities and gods. So probably Arcana would probably be really important.
Definitely.
And then your choice of history, insight, investigation, medicine, or religion. And remember, we're getting 2 more because of our background.
Okay. I'm kind of liking history. Being a book nerd, probably read a lot about history of things.
Outstanding. So history it is. All right. And so the cool thing about wizards is they get the most important thing they get is spell casting, right?
Okay.
So they get to cast spells. So we'll dive into that.
This comes from their big book you were talking about.
Yeah, because that's the part that's going to be a little complicated and a little more tedious is picking the spells, And then they get this cool thing called arcane recovery. So what it is the way the game balances, like certain things you can only do like before resting, like, oh, I'm exhausted.
Like if you have one big powerful spell, you can't just throw that over and over and over again.
Exactly.
You need to wait for that to kind of recharge.
Yeah, so you have spell slots, right? So, like first level spells, second level spells, and so on and so forth. And there's a disconnect because the level of spell doesn't correlate to the character level.
Okay.
So even though like the spell is like a level 2 spell, even if you're a level 2 character, you don't have any level 2 spells.
Okay.
Like you have to, like it's not the same level. Character level, spell level.
It doesn't correlate exactly across the board.
Yeah.
If you're level 3, you don't get the level 3 spell per se.
Exactly. So like a 9th level spell is the highest level spell, but the highest level character is 20.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So 9th level is the most powerful spells there are. Like the Wish spell.
There you go.
Or Meteor Storm.
I take it those ones are kind of cool.
Those are pretty bad. So the cool thing is, you get this thing called Arcane Recovery, where if we take a short rest, which is like, there's a thing in the game where like, oh, you got your ass kicked, you take like a short rest, you rest for like an hour or something, catch your breath, re-tactic. Some people get some abilities back, and you get to recover some of your spells.
Okay.
That's the other ability you get. So let's pick up background real fast. If you remember, we have different backgrounds. We have
we had our elf rogue was a criminal. We had the gnome cleric was an entertainer, and our half orc barbarian was an outlander.
So you have acolytes, which is a background, and that's like a person who's like cloistered in some sort of religious study. They're an acolyte. Probably doesn't fit this character. We have a charlatan, who's that con artisty character.
Mm-hmm.
We have the criminal again, like our rogue. We have an entertainer, like Hespina.
Like the gnome.
We have a folk hero. That's someone who like does something good for the community, and like the common folk think they're a really cool guy for it. You have a guild artisan. You're someone who actually like crafts and makes stuff, and you're part of like some sort of crafting guild. So,
okay.
Like, I'm a glass blower, and I'm part of the glass blowing guild.
Water pipes.
Water piped guild. You have a hermit. It's someone who lives by themselves and study.
Mm-hmm.
They live off in a hovel somewhere and don't interact with anybody. You have a noble. They're part of the aristocracy, the ruling class, things like that. You have an outlander, some person who travels from far away.
I believe, was our half-orc barbarian as an outlander.
You have a sage. This probably might fit.
Okay.
Sage is a really good...
Tell me more of your sage, sir.
So a sage is someone who learns the lore of the multiverse. That's what they call their deities in the multiverse. You study scrolls, arcane research, things like that. It doesn't always have to be arcane, but it kind of fits hand in hand with what wizards do anyway. You get arcana and history, which is what you already picked. So you would be able to pick two others.
I'm kind of liking sage. Is there anything else we might...
Sage is a pretty cool one. You have a sailor.
Nah.
We also have
I don't like
a
seamen.
soldier. An urchin. This could also fit because your family was destroyed when you were young.
Oh, yes.
So you could have an urchin. So there's someone who lived on the streets by themselves, probably, picking pockets, stealing fruit off of vendor baskets just to eat and stuff, and then eventually learned magic. From this little shady urchin pass, someone took you in, taught you the ways of magic. So that could also be a choice.
I don't know. Sage and urchin both seem kind of.
Depending. Well,
they're really.
Yeah, they're kind of both can kind of fit. The neat thing about urchin, you would get like sleight of hand, which is like the kind of the thiefy skills of being able to pick someone's pocket and stuff. You also get stealth, which would let you hide. You get a disguise kit.
What does a sage get?
A sage they'd get arcana and they get history, so we'd have to pick two.
Pick two there.
You get 2 extra languages as a sage.
Okay.
So you'd have like 4 languages. You also get like gold, clothes, a letter from a dead colleague posing a question to you have not been able to answer. I don't know why that's really specific.
Maybe you're the letter that is received from the dead colleague. Maybe the letter is from one of the parents that we haven't been able to answer yet. And that's the key to unlocking the mystery of what happened.
That sounds great.
To Boss's parents.
So let's go with Sage.
Sage sounds good to me.
Sage sounds good. So that means you're going to pick 2 different skills because you already got Arcana History. You're going to pick between Insight, Investigation, Medicine, or Religion. So probably Investigation
and Medicine. I'm thinking, would you say Investigation?
Yeah, because that would be like researching in a library. You know what I mean? Like looking up things,
piecing things together. A little Sherlock Holmesy.
And then Insight, Medicine, and Religion.
I kind of like Religion.
Let's do it.
Maybe he's trying to find a reason as to why. Like maybe there's an answer in a religious aspect as to what happened.
Sounds great. So awesome. So that's the bare bones of it. So starting equipment and stuff, you're going to get either a quarterstaff or a dagger. Dagger's probably better because you can use dexterity to stab, whereas a quarterstaff is all strength based.
So are we putting equipment here?
Yeah, so you put equipment there, so you get a holy dagger.
Dagger.
So now there's 2 different things. There's they simplified spellcasting because, like in the old days, you had components, right? So you need these really random items, kind of like very Macbethian, like I am new to to like cast your spells. So they have like a component pouch where you're actually finding weird stuff and like using your components to cast your spells, or they have what's called an arcane focus. It's just some like object that you can channel the arcane energy through. Arcane focus tends to be easier. Components. Arcane focus.
It simplifies.
It simplifies it.
Okay.
As a DM, I always thought it was like unnecessary bookkeeping to keep track of components.
Yeah, it's just extra work.
So I just never bothered with it, like ever. Like no matter which setting I played, we just kind of ignored it.
Okay. So I got a dagger.
So you're gonna pick a component pouch or an arcane focus.
So I'm thinking arcane focus.
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay.
You're gonna get your spell book.
Is this all going under equipment?
Yeah. Okay. And you're going to get either a Scholar's Pack or an Explorer's Pack. And that has, like, paper in it. It has there's, like, a whole...
A Scholar or an Explorer? I like Scholar, because I think you're a big book nerd here.
Yeah, so a Scholar's Pack would probably be perfect. And it tells you what's in it. So a Scholar's Pack would have a backpack, a book of lore, ink, a pen, parchment, sand, and a knife.
Okay.
So sand to dry the ink, and then a small knife. So that would be your Scholar's Pack.
All right, so we've got a dagger, an arcane focus, and a scholar's pack.
And your spell book, of course, which
and
is really important. So in your spell book, basically, your magic is how you do everything. You know what I mean? Those are your attacks.
That's your weapon.
Yeah, that's your attacks. That's like reading languages you don't understand. That's breathing underwater. That's flying. That's levitating. Like all this cool stuff is just all about your magic spell. So your spell book is like really, really important. So at level 1, you're going to know 3 cantrip spells, which are the spells that are the smallest effect spells that you can just do over and over and over and over again.
There's no limit or anything. It's just very simple, rudimentary.
But you only know like 3 of them.
Okay.
So that's the weird part. And then first level spells, you can cast 2 per day. If you arcane recovery rest, you can get 1 back. It's half your... It's like half your level minimum 1.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So... But you start with 6 different spells in your spell book.
I like
level
that.
1 spells. So you have this choice of 6 different spells to choose from. And the spells the list is long and a little tedious, so we'll probably do that off camera.
Yeah, we'll wait to decide on the spells here down the road, because we're looking at it right now. I mean, it's filling up the pages. So
yeah, so like first level spells is like 25 different spells that you get to pick 6 out of.
Each one,
the cantrips is like
obviously
15.
doing something.
Yeah, each one
different.
does something. So like. An example, like a cantrip would be light. You summon like torch light, like a little ball of light, or you can pick up an object and boop, make it glow with a light. You know,
Okay.
that's a cantrip. Or prestidigitation is like the all-purpose one. Like, oh, I got dirt on my clothes. It, like cleans it up or
Okay.
whatever.
Okay.
Or, you know, like you can use it to light your pipe or whatever like that.
Hey, I like
those
that.
are like the minor magical effects. You know, shocking grasp. You can like put lightning in your hand and like zap somebody. It's like taser hand.
Ooh, like the Emperor.
Taser hand.
I like that.
Yeah, but not. It doesn't shoot out like the Emperor. It's just like taser hand.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like
You actually got to, yeah.
it's like rubbing your
touch
feet
him.
on the carpet for a really long time. Snap.
Which happens quite frequently out here in the desert.
And so those are like the cantrips. The first level spells, you have everything from like alarm, which is like protecting your campsite if anyone comes inside. Whoop, you instantly wake up and know that they're happening. To
I like that. I like that.
a mage armor, which summons like this forceful armor around you to keep people from hitting you. Unseen servants, you have this like minor air elemental that like does things for you and like carries like your plates and stuff and like, holds your book for you and stuff.
So this can be a lot of fun picking those.
Yeah, like the selection is really cool. But yeah, so that means we have your stats, your equipment, your skills, your saving throws, your movement, your armor class. Since you don't start with any armor, is going to be 10 plus dex, so it's going to be 12 to start with.
Okay.
But of course, you're going to get spells to increase that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's pretty much it as far as like the basic mechanics.
Okay.
And then we're just going to pick some spells. Sounds good.
Somebody's phone's blowing up out in the hallway. That was really loud.
That was really loud. So
it sounded like a spell.
Making characters is easy if you just do it in steps and like the player's handbook.
And don't overthink it, because that was the other thing with me where, I mean, as you can see now, like this was the most difficult one. Like I didn't have a backstory lined up. The other ones were easy because I'm like, well, I'm not going to have to play with these characters.
So
I can just fire off ideas, and whatever pops into my head is rather simple. But with this character, I'm like, okay, well, what do I want for this character? Because it's mine, which then increases the amount of time that I'm sitting there stewing over these questions. And the fact that there are so many options, it can be very overwhelming. But what I'm noticing now, this being on the fourth character, don't question yourself. Yeah. Just kind of do it. When like as you're saying, as we're going through a lot of these things, we're coming up with background or some of these other things. Kind of go with your gut.
Yeah.
Don't
feel right.
Yeah. Don't try to overthink. Okay, well, I want to try this, and then if something else pops up, you start to question yourself. Just go with whatever thinks you feel is natural.
Yeah, and one of the coolest parts about it is a lot of people, what they do for their first characters, they base it off of some character they really like. So if they really like Star Wars, I'm going to make a character that reminds me of Luke Skywalker. Or, I'm going to make a character that reminds me of so-and-so in Game of Thrones. Because
then it's kind of giving you the outline. Yeah. Almost. And then you can fill in all the...
You're playing off those tropes and you're playing off those fantasy stereotypes. Because there's fantasy stereotypes.
Lots of
like you're playing off those tropes. And that gives you a great starting point. And the fun part about it, too, is watching your characters evolve. Like, the things that happen in the game, they're going to change the character because the character's going to be like, whoa, I remember that time where, my best friend...
Remember that time?
You know what I mean? And, like, the characters change and evolve. And that's part of the fun part of the journey. But, like, the character creation process in the player's handbook, if you do follow the step-by-step in Chapter 1, you choose your race, you choose your class. And then you determine your scores... And then you describe your character.
That's where your dice
and that's where the background and stuff like that come in. And then you pick your equipment, and that's it. So it's a 5-step process.
That can be very simple, but can also be very involved and detailed, depending on how far you want to go. Exactly. If it's your first time doing it, like I'm doing here, where this is the fourth character that we've made, I recommend as simple as possible.
Yeah.
Don't overthink it. Just get through it because here's the thing. Even the character, like Justin was just saying, the character that you're creating now is going to change as the game evolves and the story evolves. And that's quite frankly one of the things that I'm more excited to get into is the actual story of these characters, because we got some pretty interesting stories here where we just created Bosco Bar, who's a human wizard when he was a baby.
Some magical disaster
killing his family.
He's been trying to solve the mystery ever since.
And was it part of being a sage that gave us the letter?
The letter.
So there's a letter from somebody that's got a question that hasn't been able to answer yet. It's kind of like Lone Star's, half medallion, or his medallion that he's got on Spaceballs. He can't. That's right, Spaceballs reference. It's kind of like something like that. And then we also have Zaisu Dorobo here, who's an elf rogue. Who, let me see here. What did we have here?
All
Oh,
sorts of mysterious stuff.
very large family for our
Yeah, he was the
elf
middle
rogue.
child.
Was frequently by himself, would sneak around a lot, was a kind of a prankster, and always speaks in the third person. When we move to our gnome cleric, Hespina, this is probably the most detailed of all of the
Yeah,
backstories.
we went a little deep.
Because with Hespina, what happened was she grew up in a brothel that her mom ran, and she would entertain the guests, and she was involved with keeping things clean, and she enjoyed it. But then this horrible figure, the Olstein,
The Olstein.
came in and released this virus that wiped out all of the prostitutes in the brothel, therefore
And a lot of the
destroying
customers, yeah.
and therefore destroying the brothel. So since then, she has come out and said, she's really wanted to, like, that's why she's got into the medical field. She wants to be able to solve these problems, and she has a vendetta against the Olstein, and she's going to find him. And it's always in the back of her brain. If she ever sees the Olstein, she's going to just a straight attack.
Revenge.
Yeah, go right after him. And then the first character we created was the half-orc barbarian.
Yes.
This was maybe the most silly one, just because I wanted
It's
to be
up there.
absolutely silly with it. A name of Bonar Growrod. And
Loves Christopher Cross music.
and it was, growing up, he loved Christopher Cross music, Bruce Hornsby, and crocheting. And maybe he'll cross stitch. I'm thinking some cross stitching might be
I
happening
think
in there
he
too.
should have like this crocheted like helmet that he wears. Like
That's-
it's like not a real helmet.
I
it's,
know.
like,
I think
crocheted.
it's a crocheted cap for the helmet to
Oh,
keep
to
the
keep it
helmet from
warm.
getting damaged
There you go.
and to keep it warm. But he was banished from his village for his love of Christopher Cross and Bruce Hornsby
No one could
and
understand
crocheting.
him.
So those are our 4 characters that we've created. And then coming up, I'm hoping in about a week and a half, 2 weeks or so, we'll get our first game going. And then once we get it locked in, we'll let everybody know date, time, place, all the who, what, when, where, why stuff that's pertinent, so you guys can come hang out with us, and we're gonna play some D&D.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be fun. Yeah, it's just super fun. It was awesome. Like over the weekend, we had the Comic-Con. I ran a bunch of D&D games there. We had a bunch of people
go
come
well?
out. Yeah, tons of people playing D&D.
Busy weekend. Busy
It
weekend.
was super fun. So like, it's an easily accessible hobby that people love to do. If you have questions, you can message even the chat. I check them every once in a while. And
you
then
can come into the chat. You can always, you can shoot me an email. You can send us a message on Facebook. If it's a question that, I can't answer, but obviously Justin can, I'll forward it to him.
And then, of course, your friendly local game stores. We have a bunch in town. You can check out Military Gamer Supply. You can check out other places that have D&D. They love people to learn.
And that's one of the things that we're going to be doing too with these characters is that we're creating our own world in the sense that it's taking place in like West Texas, Northern Mexico, and New Mexico, like our area.
It's like
we're taking the landmarks and all of these different things from around town, and we're going to incorporate those into the game.
Yeah, it's like a fantasy overlay of our region. So
Yes.
it's going to be like really awesome because
Yes.
I'm pretty excited about it. I'm like doing a lot of world building on this stuff, which is
And one of the things that we're thinking about doing is we don't want to have too big of a gap between. We don't want a huge gap from now until when we start to play the game. So one thing we might do is, if Justin's schedule abides, by next Tuesdays we might do another live show where we start to create that world. We start to create certain things that are around town. And like we just got a question in the chat from Prince Chaos is, will there be viewer interaction? Or is it something we can join locally? You can always interact in the chat, especially next week when we're starting to come up with ideas for things. Just start firing off ideas. It's going to be kind of a group effort when we're deciding, like the Franklin Mountains are going to be involved, the Rio Grande River. There's going to be huge monstrous alligators in Santacito Plaza and stuff like that. So all those ideas are more than welcome. And then when we start to live stream it, the one thing we also want to do is, like, when you do live stream games, you open up the chat to like, what should I do? Or, it becomes interactive.
It becomes interactive. We were doing the live stream for like Extra Life. What was happening was I had someone running the chat. And so I could run the game, because otherwise I'm just like reading.
Yeah, it becomes too difficult. That's why you don't see us frequently looking at the chat doing this, because this is what you guys don't want, right? Like, we're interacting. Okay, cool. that's boring. Like that's not what you guys want. So
So yeah, so like during the Extra Life event, like I'd have the guy running the chat, and he'd run up to me and be like, "So and so donated, $20 for you to drop, 10 gelatinous cubes on the party right now."
okay.
So you can turn the corner, 10 gelatinous cubes, and just for so and so in the chat server. So like we do stuff like that, and it's pretty funny. So yeah, it's definitely going to be community driven because without the community, what's the point? You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
it's not like this is a single player game that you can
Yeah,
just go do by yourself. The whole point is to be in a group of people and interact with these amazing storylines and watching these characters grow.
collaborative
And
storytelling.
I gotta tell you, I am looking forward to building the land for one, but I'm really interested in how the stories will kind of grow because, in case you can't tell, one of the bigger goals of this too is to kind of incorporate humor into it. Hence,
Yes.
Bonar Grow Rod
Hmm.
is to incorporate a lot of humor and stuff like that to try to make it as interactive but also as entertaining as possible on the live stream.
Hmm.
And on that note, I think we got all four done. We're good to go.
I think we're good to go, and we will see you guys soon.
Yeah, hopefully next Tuesday. I'll let everybody know once we find out Justin's schedule.
Yes, I get my schedule on Thursday. So
Oh. All right, bye everybody.
bye everyone.